This is the Virtual Boy, Nintendo's ill-fated but ambitious first stereoscopic 3D game console. While it only lasted from August 1995 to August 1996 in North America, with every single one of its 14 North American games exclusive to the console and never re-released, the strange device still has devoted fans, and many believe it's a shame so many good games are trapped on a console that is so difficult to obtain or accurately replicate. 16 years later, the 3DS was launched, the only other console by Nintendo that utilized stereoscopic 3D graphics. Many thought that the new handheld would be perfect to release the Virtual Boy catalog of games on the handheld's Virtual Console store, something that unfortunately never came to be. Nintendo has since shut down the 3DS eShop, leaving Virtual Boy fans disappointed and in the dark. That is, until today. The Virtual Boy was a weird console. Launched in 1995 in Japan and North America, it was created by famous Nintendo inventor Gunpei Yokoi of Game Boy fame. I remember trying the Virtual Boy out myself, a spry 10-year-old at the local Target, and pleading with my parents to get me one, even though they had just sprung for the brand new PS1 I had also been begging for just a few months earlier. Needless to say, much like most everyone else, I never got one. That is, until like 28 years later, I got myself one. Actually, I got two.
Can you imagine if we had these when we were 12?
Even better, we got them when we're 40.
Now these things are expensive and always smell like cigarettes for some reason. Even worse, games can run several $100s to several $1,000s. I'm looking at you, Jack Brothers. If you do have a Virtual Boy, there is a flash card available called the HyperFlash 32, which is really cool. It has a e-ink screen to show what game is loaded onto the flash card, but it is like $250. As I mentioned, there were only 14 games released in North America in the 1 year that it was on the market, and all of these games are exclusive to the Virtual Boy. They were never re-released, so the only way to play these games is to buy a Virtual Boy, buy the games. You can buy a Virtual Boy, get the flash card. You can emulate it on 2D screen, which has a lot of major issues I'll address in a bit. Or you can emulate it and do some trickery to use 3D glasses. I'm not even touching that one. But now, the Virtual Boy got its arguably biggest update in 29 years. On February 25th, 2024, Skyflugel, sick name, released Red Viper, a full-featured Virtual Boy emulator for the Nintendo 3DS that runs every retail game at 100% speed and even supports the 3D stereoscopic screen of the 3DS to accurately replicate the Virtual Boy's depth-separated planes effect. Since I have a Virtual Boy, I'll put it to the test to see if this is truly the best way to play these obscure games and which games you should check out first. Now, as a 90s kid, when the 3DS Virtual Console launched, of course they were going to put these hidden gen exclusive games on the one console that could actually replicate the 3D effect. These games are unavailable anywhere else, not on any market. Nintendo does not sell them. Even the name is similar, Virtual Console, Virtual Boy. Well, time passed. The 3DS Virtual Console got Game Boy games, NES, Game Gear, even Super Nintendo games on the new 3DS, but no Virtual Boy. But while Nintendo turned off the lights on the 3DS, a strong and creative community was steadily growing, pushing the little flappy boy to new limits, releasing new software, tools, mods, emulators, and more, theme customization tools, entire new storefronts. Virtual Console injectors allowed you to put any ROM that you owned into a Virtual Console game as long as the system was supported. The list goes on and on. Now in this video, you can't actually see the 3D effect on either the Virtual Boy or the 3DS, so it's hard to explain exactly how good it looks on both consoles. Now installing Red Viper is very, very simple. You will need custom firmware on your 3DS. You have custom firmware on your 3DS, right? Right? If you don't, just head on over to 3ds.hacks.guide and there's a very, very thorough walkthrough on how to install custom firmware in your 3DS. Also, I shouldn't have to say this, but while this will work on a 2DS, it kind of defeats the purpose. After you get your custom firmware, get FBI installed, you'll head over to the Skyflugel GitHub page, and there's a QR code, and you can install it straight from taking a picture of that QR code inside of FBI on the remote install. Or you can just put the CIA file on your SD card and install it from there. From that point, all you have to do is drop your ROMs onto your SD card, open up Red Viper, and you're good to go. On top of the 3D effect, Red Viper also supports saving games. Save states are coming in the future. Customizable color palettes, remappable buttons, and support for the new 3DS C-Stick. We'll get to that in a little bit. Now, I have my Virtual Boy, and I have my 3DS with Red Viper loaded. I only have 2 physical games for my Virtual Boys. Mario's Tennis and Tellero Boxer. So I'll focus on these games. Let's get started with the Virtual Boy itself with Tellero Boxer, so you can get a peek at what it's like to play on the Virtual Boy console.
Ah, I almost got him. Did you see that? Oh man, this game's so cool. Are you seeing this? Oh man, I was so close to knocking him out. Where's his head? Help me out. Oh man, watch this, watch this, watch this. Isn't this the coolest? I don't know why this console failed.
Anyway, the Virtual Boy has this eye cover that's really effective at blocking out light. And while the screens aren't immersive the way that modern 3D headsets are, it does feel like you have a large screen right in front of your face. The other effect is that while your entire peripheral vision is black and the background of the screen is black, this does feel like you're playing the game in a void, which is unique, but it seems to be partially the cause of the headaches and nausea that is so famously associated with this system. And while some people complain about the red on black color, it doesn't bother me. The console is awkward to use. It's extremely top heavy, and having to place it on the tabletop, and the legs bend in a weird way, and it chews through 6 AA batteries like a Game Gear. They did eventually release an AC adapter months after release, but those, as you can guess, are very expensive. I'm using rechargeable batteries to help mitigate this issue. The controller has always fascinated me. It's mirrored with D-pads on either side, a select, start, B, A buttons, and 2 triggers. It is really cool being able to use the D-pads to throw blocks and dodge, and the triggers to throw punches. It's a really good use of the controller. Now over to the 3DS. Setup was extremely simple, like I said. So I'll jump into Mario's Tennis. This was actually the first of the modern Mario sports games. Okay, this looks awesome. The 3D effect, it feels just as pronounced as the Virtual Boy. I was expecting for it to not be this good. The only thing missing is the isolation. I could fix that. Perfect! Honestly, I was doing this for a bit, but this might be the most accurate way to play. Now, the 3D effect is only all the way on or all the way off, which is understandable because the Virtual Boy didn't have a slider to move the distance between the parallax layers. And I only have an original 3DS XL, which has an issue with the 3D where if you're not perfectly centered, holding it in just the right angle, you lose the 3D and it gets blurry. And then you end up twisting and rotating the device slowly to try to realign it so that you can see it again. I don't have a new 3DS or new 3DS XL that has the face tracking that mitigates this issue. Another cool thing with emulating is that you can get cool bootleg games and prototypes and English translations of Japanese exclusive titles that you can't find in cartridge form. The only other issue that's not a huge issue is that because of the unique controller that the Virtual Boy had, the buttons don't always align. And so the left D-pad is your normal D-pad, the right face buttons are your right D-pad, and then the A and B are touch buttons on the bottom screen. And there's a button to swap so that you can use A and B normally on the face buttons, and then the right D-pad is on the screen. Luckily, I don't recall very many games where you have to use both the right D-pad and the face buttons, and so you usually just swap it for whatever game you're playing. Mario Clash, I think, can utilize both depending where you throw your shells, and same with Jack Brothers. And as I said before, the new 3DS has that little control nipple nub that allows you to use that as your right D-pad. But most games work fine with minimal use of touch controls. And now, while the 3DS had the 3D effect, and it was optional, and there weren't very many games that required you to use it, the Virtual Boy, the games were purposely built to utilize the 3D effect. And so when you're emulating in 2D, you honestly lose some gameplay without being able to see that perspective in the games. So I don't advise playing these games on a 2D screen if at all possible. And so if you want to play these games and don't have access to a Virtual Boy, it's cost prohibitive, I know. I wholeheartedly suggest trying out Red Viper to get a taste of that Virtual Boy experience. And some of these games are awesome. If you want to get started, Mario's Tennis is an easy pick up and play game. Tellero Boxer is the only first person game for the Virtual Boy, which is weird, but a neat concept in the game, especially when you're playing in 3D. I've only played a little bit of Wario Land, but that game is universally regarded as the best game on the Virtual Boy console. It's a full-fledged Wario Land game, that never made it on any other console. 3D Tetris, while it takes a little bit to get used to, is a really neat concept where it takes Tetris, but you're looking down at the game and you can move blocks in 3D space. Jack Brothers is actually the first Shin Megami Tensei game that came to the US. That has a really cool vertical maze that you navigate through, and it uses the right D-pad to fire in those directions, almost like a twin stick. Red Alarm is actual 3D flight space game. It's all wireframe, so it's kind of hard to see what is going on, but the 3D effect definitely helps, especially in that game. And I love my pinball games. Galactic Pinball, awesome, fun to play. But honestly, there's only 14 games in North America, and then some imports and prototypes. Try them all. You can experience every single game in a couple hours, so I wouldn't skip anything, honestly. Decide what you like. In all, I'd say that playing these games is ultimately a better experience on a 3DS than it is on a Virtual Boy. The 3D reproduction is fantastic and recreates these games better than I thought was even possible. I think experiencing the novelty of an original Virtual Boy is a must, especially for Nintendo fans, but prolonged play can be straining, not accounting for the steep price to get the hardware and the games. I'll have links in the description for where to get all this stuff and how to install custom firmware in your 3DS. I want to give a big thank you to everyone in the Technology Discord server for being absolute legends. I love all you beautiful people. And I want to thank you for watching this video and supporting the channel. If there's something that you want to see, leave a comment. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, subscribe, the whole deal. We're still in growth mode, so I appreciate your support. Be sure to find me on Twitter, Instagram, Discord, anywhere and everywhere. I just launched a new website. My girlfriend got me a cool new sign for my birthday. How sick is that? Got a lot of videos coming out, so stick around. Cheers.